that she heard the interview from, maybe they can testify as well as it's related to the interview. I don't think that
Why do I need them to testify to anything? If you have images of your client reportedly giving a big fat admission,
I'm sorry, Judge?
as People's Exhibit 1 turned out to be an admission, I'm not understanding your objection.
You said if it turns out to be an admission?
I said it turned out to be an admission. And it's not hearsay. It was clearly your client that was speaking those words. So I'm not understanding what your objection is.
Your Honor, it was my client speaking those words, but there's nothing on the record whatsoever to indicate to the court when that video was taken, who took that video, whether or not that video was spliced, was moved around, was voiced over. There's nothing for Your Honor to hear.
Again, that goes as to the weight I should attribute to the evidence and not its admissibility.
Thank you, Judge.
I'm starting to sound like a broken record. This
Thank
is
you,
People's Proposed Exhibit 2?
3.
3. All right. The court will receive People's Proposed Exhibit 3 into evidence as People's Exhibit 3.
And can we play that, please?
My eyes aren't what they used to be. Even correctly.
For creating President Barack Obama's Hope campaign poster is creating a massive masterpiece in downtown Detroit.
Almost everybody's seen that poster right there, and that's where you find now Detroit's Ronnie Doll, right?
Yeah, Shepard Fairey is well known in the art world, not just for his commissioned work, but also for his street art. He is based in LA, but comes to us from Charleston, South Carolina, and I have to tell you, he is here in Detroit creating one of his biggest murals to date. Boy, is it big, 185 feet by 55 feet, and he is painting it on the side of the old CompuWare building. We had the chance to speak with him a few moments ago about his work here at Detroit.
I've done 50 murals, but to do one like this, the big challenge is wind and the surface of the building.
Have you ever tagged anything?
Yeah, I've tagged a lot. I've been arrested 17 times for putting work up in the street without permission. But I love to do something with permission. For me, it's all about putting art in front of the public any way possible. I always love the rush of doing things covertly, but to do something on this scale, this is like climbing Mount Everest.
Are you leaving anything behind, uncommissioned throughout the city someplace?
You'll just have to keep your eyes peeled.
Oh, and I think Detroit police might be keeping their eyes peeled as well. Now, Dan Gilbert helped bring Fairey and several of his assistants here to the Motor City. They are also working on a smaller mural here in the alley in the Z parking garage, leaving a lot of history here in the Motor City. One thing he was telling me, the thing with some of the street art, people typically will come and tag over top of it or paint over top of it. When you do something like this, it's going to be here for years to come for several people to enjoy. They are going to be having a reception for him Friday night. It's open to the public. If you want to meet him, see more of his artwork, we'll put the information about that reception on our website, wxyz.com. For now, we're live in downtown Detroit. Back to you.
And Ronnie, how long has this taken him to do all this again?
Well, he started actually in town over the past weekend, but of course the weather hasn't been cooperating the best, so they started on the smaller mural. They're working on the larger one. They hope to have this done in like 2 days. It is impressive when you see them up there. It's kind of like a ride at Cedar Point, I have to tell you. It's pretty scary up there.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Right, all thank you so very much. I think it's interesting. The thrill of tagging and the thrill of getting paid.
Exactly. Right, you're way up, right? All right, let's go. Thank you, Ronnie. And thanks to all of you for watching the Now It Is program.
May I resume, Your Honor?
Please.
So for the last just few minutes, we've watched an interview of Shepard Fairey by Ronnie Dahl. Is that correct?
Yes.
And he advised to keep one's eyes peeled for any illegal art.
He did.
And after viewing that, did you follow that advice?
I certainly did.
And did you find is posters up and around on different locations within the city.
I did.
I'd like to go through them. I'll have them marked first. Just one moment. Yeah, they're in the order of my amended information. Yeah, you stipulate or not?
Huh? Those are
Okay, well, I'd like to show you what's been marked as proposed exhibit 4 through 28. And could you just take a look at those to yourself, and I'll ask you some more questions. Have you had a chance to look through those?
Yes.
And what are they?
These are the locations where we identified the tags believed to have been.
I'm going to object as to her answering, and we, Judge, answer what she did.
Sustained.
Okay, tell me again, what's proposed exhibits 4 through 28?
These are photographs that I took at the locations where Shepard Fairey tags were found.
And are those the locations recited in the information in this case?
Yes.
And do those photographs fairly and accurately depict what's in them?
Yes.
I move for the admission of 4 through 28.
No objection, Judge.
Proceed.
All right, I'd like to go through them with you. I've also marked the cover sheets indicating the address. So as to 1421 East Jefferson, what is at that location?
14201 East Jefferson is a historic building, the old Vanity Ballroom.
Okay. And where is the tag on that building visible?
Yes.
And that's the picture of the face?
Yes.
Okay.
You can't see it in the photograph, but in the star on the forehead of that face is the Obey Giant.
Okay. Go to 6801 East Jefferson. And this will be exhibits 7, 8, and 9. Can you tell us what's shown there?
I can rotate it. I can tell by looking at it. It's the iconic Obey Giant face.
And what kind of building is at that location, 6801 East Jefferson?
It's a commercial building.
Okay. And exhibits 8 and 9?
Freshly painted commercial building. That's the same building.
Okay.
When were these pictures taken?
They would have been taken on the 22nd of May.
You took all of these pictures on the 22nd?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And 6431 East Jefferson, what is that location?
That's another commercial building
Okay.
that had been freshly painted.
All right. And that would be exhibits 11 and 12. Now, there's, for the record, there's 2 men in suits talking to each other and holding up a card of some kind.
Yes,
Is that correct? Is that whole thing a poster?
it is.
And the card, what is it? What's shown there for the record on that card?
The iconic Obey Giant.
Okay. And
What building was that?
that's 6431 East Jefferson. Yeah, is that a picture of 6431 East
Yeah.
Jefferson?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and so that poster we saw in the other exhibit is stuck on that building?
It is. And you can just barely see the poster there. There's a little cove area on the front of the building, and the poster's in on the building there.
And I'd like to go to 3510 Woodward, and that would be exhibits 14, 15 and 16. And I'll ask you a question in a minute. This would be Exhibit 14. Can you tell us what's shown there?
Yes, it is a poster of a person with a mask and a hat on. On the hat, in the star, is the Obey Giant.
All right. And we can go to the next one, which would be Exhibit 15. And is that also catching that the poster on the to the left of the shot?
Yes.
And Exhibit 16. Okay, and that's another shot. It's
Yes, it's the same building.
okay. What? All right. That's 3510 Woodward.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'd like to go to 5901 or 1509 Broadway. And this would be Exhibit 18. And we also had all the cover sheets marked that labeled the address. Is the poster shown in Exhibit 18?
Yes, that is the iconic Misfit poster.
And what kind of building is 1509 Broadway?
That is the historic Wurlitzer building.
Now, I'd like to go to East Grand Boulevard and I-75. And that would be Exhibits 20, 21, 22, 23. Can you tell us what's shown in this photograph, which was Exhibit 20?
Yes, that's a railroad underpass located at East Grand River and I-75. That is the iconic Misfit face.
Okay. Exhibit 21, if we can go to that. And that's, again, showing what?
That's just showing the bridge itself.
Okay.
The poster would be found to the right of that photograph against the wall.
Okay, and the photo here is actually 22, but go to the next shot. And that would be 23. What? And again, that's showing what?
So the photo before, I was standing facing long ways along the railroad tracks. Now I'm just looking in under the underpass, and that is the iconic Misfit poster on that same wall.
And that wall is part of the railroad bridge?
Yeah, it would be the abutment wall that's supporting the railroad bridge.
All right. And then go to the next shot. This, you have to explain, it's a little hard to decipher. This would be Exhibit 21. What are we showing here?
So when I viewed the video of Mr. Fairey posting the Misfit, the iconic Misfit face on the YouTube video, I noticed that the face came in two pieces. And so I wanted to get a close-up of the fact that the poster that's on the wall at the Boulevard in 75 is in fact also two pieces.
So if we could go back to the first one, that would be 28, but where it's the close-up of the face, the one we started with. Can you tell us, does that show the two halves?
Yes, you can tell actually the right side is a little bit lower than, I'm sorry, the left side is a little bit lower than the right. It's not lined up completely 100%, but the center line is kind of down the center of his nose. That's where I actually took the photograph of the two pieces meeting.
Okay, so you can see that it's two halves that make up the face.
Yes.
And I'd also like to go to Woodward and Endicott. which are exhibits 25, 26, 27, and 28. Now, can you tell us what we're seeing in exhibit 25?
That is the iconic Obey Giant face, and that is on an abutment wall. That wall also supports a railroad bridge.
All right. And if we can go to the next shot. This would be exhibit 26. And that's again showing the bridge abutment.
Yes, that's the same location.
And if we could just show 27, what are we seeing there?
Well, when I investigated this location, I wanted to see how hard it would be to peel the actual poster off, and it just ripped. It ripped like paper. It was a thin paper type material.
Okay. And then 28. And again, that's just another shot of the same poster?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Is it a separate statutory offense to post or mar property, damaged property belonging to a railroad overpass,
Yes.
than it is real property?
Yes.
All right. Yes.
Cross-examine?
Just a couple more questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said you were done.
And did you interview the owners of the various properties in this case as to whether they gave consent to have these things put on their property?
Myself and members of my team did, yes.
All right.
Judge, I have no objection to the court referring to the stipulations we entered on Thursday, indicating all the property owners did not give permission and were also owners of the property.
That's already been stipulated.
And as to the two railroad bridges and the walls that were part of that, that would be city property?
Yes, sir.
Now, in the course of your experience as a sergeant investigating graffiti, did you ever see any of these images or posters before the arrival of Shepard Fairey in the city of Detroit?
I did not.
Have you seen any since?
I have not.
May 22nd?
I have not.
And did you present a warrant request to the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office for malicious destruction of property relative to the pieces of property we've just been looking at?
Yes.
Yeah, I have nothing further.
Cross-examine?
Thank you, Judge. Officer, I want to take you back to the piece of property that you said you photographed because you ripped and it ripped off right like paper. What property was that?
That's this location here that's up on the board, Woodward and Endicott.
And you indicated you wanted to take a picture because you wanted to see how easily it could be ripped off, correct?
That's not why I wanted to take a picture. I just wanted to show that it had been ripped, but it won't come any further.
But you ripped it.
I ripped that,
Okay.
yes.
And you testified that it ripped off extremely easily, just like a piece of paper, correct?
The edges that were loose came loose, but it wouldn't pull any further.
But you were able to rip off at least a portion of it just like it was paper, in your exact words.
That was not stuck, yes.
So to a certain extent, at least to a large extent, you characterize this as removable art, is that correct?
Objection. That's assuming facts not in evidence. She never characterized it as removable art.
I'll overrule the objection. She can answer the question.
Thank you, Judge.
Actually, I would not agree with that at all. In fact, it would be very difficult to remove that, which is why I wanted to memorialize it in a photograph. The piece that I tore off wasn't attached. If you can understand, like when it was put up, there was like a bubble left. It wasn't actually attached. So I grabbed that piece, and when it got to the portion that was actually stuck to the wall, it would no longer peel.
The YouTube video that you said you used to educate yourself on Shepard Fairey, when was that YouTube video shot?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, sir. We'd have to pull it up.
Who was the person who was videotaping, supposedly videotaping Shepard Fairey in that video?
I don't know.
Did Shepard Fairey have permission to tape up any of the stuff that he was taping up in the video?
I didn't see him taping anything. I saw him gluing.
Did he have permission to glue up any of the stuff he glued up in the video?
I can't answer that question, sir.
What city did that take place in?
I can't answer that question either.
What continent did it take place on?
Well, I don't know.
Okay. Do you have any, can you tell the court anything relative to whether or not that YouTube video was edited in any way prior to you seeing it?
I have no idea.
In the YouTube video, isn't it true that Mr. Fairey indicates that part of his philosophy was not to tag or in any other way damage any sort of building that was newer or in use? Isn't that correct?
He indicated a lot of things in that video, sir.
One of the things he indicated, if I'm correct, was that his philosophy was to not put up any sort of artwork or anything of the such on any sort of new or useful space. Is
I
that
don't
correct?
object to that question. The video speaks for itself. So what point is there in asking her to characterize it in his words?
Objection is best evidence sustained.
Thank you, Judge. Isn't it true that you said on two of those properties, and Mr. Baker ran through all of them, but on at least two of them you said that they had been freshly painted?
Yes.
What properties were those, if you remember?
6431 Jefferson. And the other one, was it the other one closer to Belle Isle, another 6,000 block address. I can't.
How did you come to the knowledge that they had been freshly painted?
Well, it was obvious by their appearance, number one, and number two, I have knowledge of, because I'm a member of the graffiti team with the city, I have independent knowledge of the fact that many business owners are painting their buildings to cover up vandalism, and they're being forced to do so by the city. Those two were definitely freshly painted buildings, and you could tell.
Are you looking at something inside?
No.
Judge, I don't know how to move through any of these exhibits.
We can assist, Your Honor, or he can use the paper copies.
Paper copies might help me with asking specific questions.
If you want to use this, you just want to say
Let's talk about this property, People's Exhibit 4. 14201 East Jefferson. You're familiar with that property?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a significant amount of other graffiti on that property?
There's other graffiti, yes.
And whose tag was it on that other piece of graffiti on the property?
Objection to the relevancy of that.
Why is it relevant if there's other graffiti on the property?
Whose tag was that on the other piece?
Well, I asked the question, Counsel.
What?
Why is that relevant?
Judge, she indicated to the court that she's familiar with graffiti artists, that they always leave tags. This is a perfect example. There's a piece of graffiti on there. I'm asking her if she can indicate which graffiti artist tag that is.
It's not relevant. It's a standard.
Can you indicate to the court approximately how far away you are from this building when you took this picture?
I was in the same block, but I had to be quite a distance away to get the photograph up because of the height and the other building blocking it. So I was in the same block, but I was probably 50 yards maybe from the building,
Okay.
maybe a little bit more.
How did you come to find that particular piece of artwork on that building that day?
On this particular day,
Yes.
I believe Detective Split spotted this originally.
Okay, so it's fair to say that you received information from different sources that led you to different supposed tags of Shepard Fairey's artwork?
Yes.
Besides Detective Split, what other avenues led you to these pieces of artwork?
Social media, other members of my team, myself.
Okay. Any of the owners themselves?
I don't believe any of the owners had contacted us. No.
Okay. And you said you saw all this on May 22nd, correct?
Yes.
Did you see Shepard Fairey post anything on any of these walls in any of these exhibits?
With my eyes, did I see him do it?
Yes.
No, sir, I did not.
Does anybody that you, to your personal knowledge, within the police force see Shepard Fairey post any of these things in any of the buildings?
Not to my knowledge.
To your knowledge, did any of the property owners see Shepard Fairey post or paint any of these things in any of these buildings?
Well, objection. How, she wouldn't know whether they saw it or not.
She'll be here today as well. Sustained.
Thank you, Judge. Do you know when Shepard Fairey was in Detroit during that period of time?
I don't have personal knowledge just from my research on the internet, sir.
So again, you're going off of what the internet told you?
I'm going off of a news interview and other things that I learned during my investigation on the internet, yes.
Okay, based on what the internet told you, what dates did you find Shepard Fairey to be in Detroit over that time period?
The weekend prior to the May 19th video interview with Ronnie Dahl,
So for the record,
through the 22nd, it's my knowledge.
So to your knowledge, he was there for about 10 days?
That's fair.
And your knowledge you garnered from a television interview done by Ronnie Dahl?
Yes.
Did you have anything whatsoever to do with attempting to clean up or remove any of this artwork from these buildings?
Me personally,
Yes.
I did not.
Did you view any or all of these buildings on May 21st, 2015?
I don't believe so.
Did you view any or all of these buildings on May 20th, 2015?
No.
May 19th, 2015?
No.
Did you view any or all of these buildings on May 18th, 2015?
Personally, no, I did not, sir.
Can you think of the last time you had personally viewed any of these buildings that have entered into exhibit prior to May 22nd?
I would have no way of knowing that. I drive up and down the streets of the city all the time and pass different areas. I wouldn't be able to tell you.
In your explorations on the internet, were you able to find different pieces of Shepard Fairey's artwork?
Yes.
Were you able to see them attached to websites?
I don't understand.
Were you able to see them on eBay?
I didn't check eBay, sir.
Were you able to see them in downloadable forms?
No, I didn't.
Did you attempt to try and find them or download them from the internet in any way?
No, I did not.
Relative to the video you saw was from YouTube, correct?
Correct.
Do you know if when it was placed on YouTube?
I answered that question earlier, sir. I'm not sure.
Do you know approximately how many views it had on YouTube?
Objection to the relevancy of that.
Overruled. I know where it's going.
Do you know how many views it had on YouTube?
Sitting here right now, no, I don't, but I'm sure you could pull it up and see. I don't know.
When you Googled Shepard Fairey, did the YouTube video come up on the first screen of your Google search?
I believe it was a separate YouTube search that I did to find the YouTube video.
Okay.
It wasn't actually from the initial Google of his name.
And you would agree that based on the explanation that Shepard Fairey supposedly gave in that video, he gave a pretty explicit explanation as to how to make wheat paste. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you have any information regarding what was used to paste the pictures of the exhibits, any of those pictures? Do you have any information to indicate what was used to attach those to the walls?
Some kind of paste or glue. That's all I know.
Did you take any of the paste to have it examined?
No, sir.
So you have no clue what so in other words, you wouldn't be able to testify as to what was used to put any of those posters up on the wall, correct?
Other than glue or paste, no.
Okay. And again, in watching that video, Mr. Fairey also explained how when certain posters are certain sizes, they can be split in half and attached, correct?
They can be split in half and attached?
Yes, because of their size.
I don't remember the exact wording, but I do remember seeing two pieces demonstrated.
So that was demonstrated?
Yes.
Along with the making of the paste?
Yes.
Along with attaching the supposed posters to different walls? Is that correct?
Yes.
But again, you can't testify as to when or where any of this was done, correct?
Objection, that's been asked and answered. I think we're on the third time now.
Your Honor, if I can have just one moment. Officer, you testified that relative to all the pieces of art you saw on these buildings, they had some sort of attachment to obey?
I did not say that.
Okay. So, relative to the pieces you saw that are connected to obey, you indicated that obey is somehow attached to Shepard Fairey, is that correct?
Yes.
And how is that?
It's one of his iconic images that he uses in his artwork.
What do you mean by an iconic image?
I mean, it's one of the images that he uses that he connects his art with. He referred to it as an icon in the YouTube video. Your client.
Okay, so you're saying iconic because Mr. Fairey referred to it as iconic in his own video?
That's correct, by his own words.
Okay. You have no knowledge of any sort of Shepard Fairey artwork appearing in the city of Detroit prior to these dates, is that correct?
No, I don't.
Do you have any knowledge whatsoever of any Shepard Fairey artwork appearing on the walls of this anywhere in the city of Detroit after these dates?
No, I don't.
Nothing further, Judge. Thank you.
Any redirect?
No.
Sergeant McKay, how comfortable are you in that this isn't the work of a copycat?
I'm confident in the fact that it was Mr. Fairey due to the fact that basically in his interview, he's indicating that he's going to do it.
Do you have any idea of the cost to remove those or that graffiti?
It's over $20,000
Where do you get that information?
from the General Services Department with the City of Detroit.
We have the next witness will address that.
All right. Any questions based on my questions?
No.
Yes, Judge. Based on the judge's question regarding the copycat, wouldn't you agree that Mr. Fairey pretty blatantly laid out everything that would need to be done to, quote unquote, paste a piece of paper onto a city wall?
Well, objection to the relevancy of that. He didn't lay out about posting his work when he's in the city of Detroit on walls.
That's not what I asked, Judge.
No, I mean, what's the relevancy of whether he's showing in the video these techniques? I mean,
Your objection is relevancy?
Yes.
Overruled.
Thank you, Judge.
You're suggesting someone set your client up, and is that what you're? I don't understand.
I'm asking you if, based on the video that you reviewed, I'll ask it like this.
Let's try it a different way. In the video that we all observed, does Mr. Fairey pretty much give a blueprint on how to do what it is that he does?
He did. He did. That it would require an individual obtaining his artwork and then intentionally going out after he indicates in a live interview that he's planning on doing it, and then in another interview with the Detroit Free Press that he's planning on doing it,
Judge, that's
and then to have this specific person go on the internet, find out how to do it, obtain his artwork, and then go out and post his artwork all over the city. I think it's a far, far stretch.
That's not, Judge, I'm sorry, that's not what I asked. If you want to accept that as an answer, I would just ask a few more questions if the court would allow.
Actually, I asked the question.
I know.
And she answered it. You
I
have
know.
another question?
Thank you, Judge. Were every single one of these pieces pasted to walls?
Of the pieces that are at...
The pieces you're charging my client with posting?
Yes, they were all posted to a wall.
None of them were painted to walls?
You mean painted?
Yes.
No, none of them.
Were any of them hammered to the walls by nails?
No.
Was anything and you said that there was nothing that was specifically painted to brick relative to any of these pieces of artwork, correct?
Well, they were stuck to brick.
Okay. So whatever the way I'll put it this way. The way you found all of this artwork attached to the walls. Was that in step exactly the same way as it was demonstrated in the YouTube video?
The vandalism that I found was stuck to the walls in the same manner, yes.
Thank you. Nothing further, Director.
Thank you, sir.
I just have, in response to the last round of questioning, did you also view or read an article that of an interview that Shepard Fairey gave to Mark Stryker of the Detroit Free Press?
Judge, the prosecutor's assuming stuff not in evidence. It wasn't asked on direct examination. It was in response to a question the court asked. I think it's inappropriate for the prosecutor to ask it at this time.
Well, it came out about why was there a phantom Shepard Fairey loose in the city? All right.
We can ask the question if she read it. We probably can't go into the contents of it without it because of the best evidence rule.
Okay. The rules of evidence do say newspapers are self-authenticating. This is a newspaper article that I have.
If it's an article, if you have the article.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't want her interpretation as to what the article says without the article. That's what I mean by best evidence.
All right. Like this marked as Exhibit 29. But as I'm showing you what's been marked as proposed Exhibit 29, can you tell us what that is?
Yes, this is the news article that I read in the Detroit Free Press by Mark Stryker.
All right. And did you read that article as part of your investigation?
I did.
And did you read that article, do you know when, in connection to your investigation?
On the day that it was posted, and that would be on the 22nd
All right.
of May.
All right. And also, is that information in that article somewhat inform your answer to the questions about whether a copycat person could have been on the loose in Detroit?
Yes, it absolutely does.
Right. Does, again, Mr. Fairey address whether he's going to tag in that article?
He does.
And I want to direct your attention to, it's a long article, I don't want to go through the whole thing. I just want to go to the last page. I first will move for the admission of this article 29.
Judge, I don't know on what basis.
How is that not hearsay?
It's part of what she read in her investigation.
Well, that's not offered for the truth of the matter
Correct.
asserted.
Correct.
But now you move enter it into evidence,
Well,
so now
so-
it becomes.
Well, so she can read from the article to show what she learned in the article. It also is part of her answer to the questions about whether somebody else could have done this.
Put it this way, the article itself does not come in because it's hearsay. It's an out-of-court statement offered for the truth of the matter asserted. However, if she used that in her investigation, she can tell us what was it in the article that led her to do certain things, and I'll accept it for that limited purpose.
Okay. But you don't, not to admit the article
Not to
itself?
admit it.
Okay. Was there anything in this article that affected your investigation?
Yes.
What?
In the article, Mr. Fairey indicates that he is planning to illegally tag while he's in the city of Detroit.
I have nothing else.
Anything else, Mr. Fairey?
Yes, Your Honor. If the prosecution's going to be using what this police officer gleaned from an article, I would ask the court to allow in, for purposes of completeness, the exact quote she's referring to in the article. I have no problem with her reading that exact quote into the record.
Again, it's an out-of-court statement offered for the truth of the matter asserted. If there's something in that article that led her to do a certain thing, then she can tell us what it was in that article that led her to do a certain thing. But I don't want any quotes from you.
I know that, Judge, but you're allowing her to testify that based on what she read, she made a poignant statement based on what she read that led her, that Mr. Fairey said he was going to be doing artwork in the city in that article. I don't believe that's what the article says at all in the quote. So that's why I have a problem with the court allowing her to testify as to what she gleaned.
On that one, you can ask her.
Okay.
Where in that article?
Thank you, Judge. Where in that article did you glean that Shepard Fairey indicated an admission that he was going to illegally tag different parts of the city of Detroit?
I would have to see the article to...
No objection, Judge.
Did you want me to read it in
Sure.
to the record? Okay, so it's on page 4 of 4, the second paragraph. This is a quote from Mr. Fairey. I don't think it's hypocritical for me because I've always espoused what I call the inside-outside strategy, said Fairey. I'll do stuff on the street without permission. I'll be doing stuff on the street when I'm in Detroit. But the idea of being able to infiltrate the system on its own terms and make things better from within is something I've always believed in.
Okay. So based on that quote, isn't Mr. Fairey indicating that he's trying to make things better?
That's what he's saying.
That in his mind he's trying to essentially improve
Can't
things?
testify to what he's thinking in his mind. What the article says.
Thank you, Judge. I have nothing further.
Okay, thank you, Sergeant.
We have one more witness, Your Honor.
No, I have to go.
Let's pause just for a second.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thomas Michael Tamaji. Calling 1257870, people in the state of Michigan.